back. Welcome to the Weekly Roundup, the place where we unpack what's been going on in the yoga, Pilates, physical therapy, regular therapy, wellness world. I could go on and on, like a million more popped into my head. But what's been going on there and what we've been coaching our clients through. I'm here with my fellow coaches, Terri and Carol. I'm Bridget, and we've got a bit of a hodgepodge of topics today to talk about, but that's sort of what
This is
um
about
that's what
knowing.
like yeah, studio ownership life is about. You should see the messages my clients will send me within 10 minutes is like, 45 different topics in one day. And as we all know, that's the life. So, Carol has been away on a little bit of an on-site, which is one of the many incredible services that we offer here. Carol, tell us, what are you seeing on the ground in action?
In real life.
I know. It's
IRL.
IRL. It's so much fun, first of all. And it's like, I don't know, it's one of my favorite things to do is be on the ground, seeing the things, meeting people. And this one was an interesting one. It's a long-term client. And they've done some of this training before. Typically, we're there for training the team on sales, is usually the main focus of the on-sites. We can do other things as well, but that's what we tend to go with. And it's so interesting that couple things. One is that even though they've trained and they understand, best practices from what we've seen, it still like veers off. And all of a sudden, like the complete, the flow of specifically like a first visit flow, which is what we really create a full SOP and layout for so that it's, you know, converting your people that are in they're standing there in front of you onto your goal offer, your intro, how quickly it can go off course because of whatever reasons. And it was interesting, I think, for this one because even the managers that kind of they know how we always coach to pitching the intro before you even start class. I mean, even just if it's planting the seed to say, hey, we have this amazing deal. And then if you don't get it right away, we're not tied to that, but it gives you a second chance after the service to have a conversation. And how even the managers, knowing what they know, were like, well, it was like the team had kind of come to the conclusion, why would I sell something to someone before they've tried it? And so everyone on it was sort of like a pervasive thought that had gotten into the it was like into the ether of the team. And so, and we're back to what we recommend, because what happens is it feels like you get, that maybe happens and you get a sale from pitching it after class only, and then you get the confirmation bias of like, well, that works. But when you dive deeper with KPIs and actually look at the numbers, it's not always the case. And even hey, that might work, and in our experience, pitching beforehand works better. So let's try it this way, pitching first before class, and let's see if the numbers change. Like prove one way or the other. Let's prove one way or the other that this works. So I think that was a pretty, interesting take where one little thought or notion can get into the whole team's perspective of how things should work in the studio. Go ahead, Bridget.
So interesting that you say that, Carol. Literally yesterday, I was just going over a bunch of stuff, and I'll actually pivot to this later. A bunch of stuff like with my manager and her job duties and all this stuff, which, yeah, like I said, won't get into now. But I was thinking about this stuff, like the first visit flow, like all of this stuff that's so essential. And for those that don't know, I run my studio fully remotely and like very far away. I can't like take a road trip and like pop down. It is like a, $1,000 flight if I'm lucky to get to my studio. So just thinking about all these processes and like what it really means to be in charge of operations and what's on the ground. Terry's emojis are going off. And I was literally thinking about making a monthly or, probably more realistically, quarterly task for her to literally just check in on first visit flow. Like make sure everybody is and like we've said, it's just normal human stuff to like evolve the way something happens and sort of slip into habits and groupthink, like Carol was talking about, that just sort of like a little seed gets planted and then you've got all this stuff growing. Um, and like, how do I really know that even if I was living there, how do I know that each of my 25 employees knows the first visit, like is doing the first visit flow still years into their employment the way that I want them to, right? And so I was literally thinking about a little like quarterly task of just a check-in on that exact procedure and maybe some other ones too. Coach Terri, I'd love your thoughts.
Well, I love this question. And how can you tell, to Carol's point, what do the numbers show? Because it's not, we have is that the right empirical data? Is that correct how to use that empirical data? That shows every time we do an onsite, their conversion rate goes up almost instantly. And in one case, it was so dramatic that the onsite, with the additional revenue that they brought in just on the conversions, paid for the onsite within the first 2 months. It's a larger studio. And, onsites are not inexpensive. And then, okay, so yes, we know it works, and we know it works because of the numbers. And then to your point, Bridget, and you too, Carol, is you get off that little course. And it is interesting that just I had a great example yesterday with a client who said, I've come to discover that word choice matters. It came up of something about asking the definition of fine. And in one case, everything's fine versus everything's fine. It was just, gosh, I have to go back and look at it. Forget that. Scratch that point. Come back to the original point, Terri, is looking at your KPIs and seeing how those conversions are. Now, particularly what we're talking about, to give a little context for those listening for the first time or not as familiar with how we coach is we talk about having that sales conversation before the class is taken, particularly when you're having the conversation when other than goodness, if someone signs up online, buys your goal offer, comes in, then you don't need to pitch them anything because they bought the thing you want them to buy, which is your goal offer. And so the conversation there is more about getting them into the class and what all the things are with other things, aspects of the first visit flow. What we're talking about is pitching them before class if they come in on anything other than your goal offer. So if they arrive on a drop-in and they arrive on a guest or buddy pass or a class pass or a gym pass there's so many of these social passes out there. So when those folks arrive and we're talking on their first visit, if those new clients arrive on anything other than your goal offer, what Carol was talking about is you pitch them the goal offer. And in the rep room, this is one of the things we worked on with our first rep practices, was pitching someone, upselling someone from a drop into the goal offer. Right. And that's oftentimes what people are like hesitant, to Carol's point. Why would I sell them something before they've even tried it? And what this goes back to, then obviously, and here's a gut check for you all listening in your businesses. That means your team's not bought into your product. Because obviously it's like, of course they want to buy it. That should be the attitude. It's like, why wouldn't they want to do our goal offer? It's the best way to get to know. It's the best way to try us out. It's the best way to feel the impact. And it's like, if people are uncomfortable saying that, then I think you have a little bit of a larger issue there in that, are they really bought in to what you're selling? Carol.
Yeah, it also leaves to chance their experience in that one class, or whatever, which there are so many factors. Like, what if I had been drinking all night before and this is a hot yoga class? And like, hell no, I'm not gonna want to come back after that. But and the other assumption is that they would have bought it. We hear this a lot too, like, well, they would have bought it if they wanted it. And the truth of the matter is a lot of times they don't see it. Like they really are not paying attention. It was the first thing that popped up on the app, and they're standing there in front of you and looking for an experience and transformation. And if you really believe that your product can do this for them, it can't happen with one time. So we
Yeah.
have to sell them on that. So
Yeah, that's really good. The other what the other thing that sorry, I'm getting is the other thing is, how do you know that they're pitching it? And one of the things I have a lot of clients is we do what's called a conversion tracker report. And any client that comes in that has not bought the goal offer goes on this tracker. And then it's like who the team member is, the date, um, what they came in on, what pass they came in on as a drop-in guest pass, whatever it is. Did you upsell them? Yes or no? And then why not? With a detailed why, right? Because then this actually shows that they have to track it. And the nice thing about that is then after you do this for a while, a month or so, a month or two, and everybody's doing it, then you can get a sense of what are the excuses or objections that people are giving your team, so that then you can then train them on overcoming, or like we say, flipping that resistance. Right? If you get, I want to think about it, or this, or whatever they put it in, and if you train your team to complete that, then that gives you data to help you train your team even better. And then the other thing is that if you help, depending on how you set this up in your whatever system you're using, you can actually look and track how the team is doing on these conversions, and that's going to tell you whether or not it's working or not. Like again, going from not hardly converting, and this is the other thing we see, because really we train hard on converting like buddy passes and drop-ins. It's like before the training happens, they're converting less than 10% of drop-ins and guest passes. After the training and months subsequent, now they're converting 35, 40, 50% of those. So that's the other way we can see that happens. And we just know because the proof is in the numbers. The after class it is interesting. We get that universally. We get that a lot universally. Oh, I like to do it afterwards. It's better afterwards.
The other thing you're leaving up to chance when you do it afterwards is that they don't run the fuck out and that you're not in the middle of an important conversation with someone else at the end of class. Like that's a big reason why I coach my team on talking about it at the beginning. Like talk about it at the beginning and talk about it after class. Like you should be hitting both. And yeah, that's the only way, the only time you really have a right basically to stop them is on the way in. Like that's where you have your leverage, which is like, I have to check you in. You have to talk to me.
Yeah.
And at the end of class, they have every right to walk right past you.
Well,
Um,
yeah, particularly like again, going back to our beloved hot studio, even in a non-heated studio, kind of that yoga brain. I mean, if they're just coming out of a restorative type class and they're just like floating on air, or if
Yeah.
they're coming out of a Carol's IHP class and they're basically crawling out on hands and knees because Carol had them do 8 sets of
You
burpees,
can't
eight
even
sets of
see
mountain
them.
climber.
They're crawling
They're crawling out,
need
they're
past the time. You
underneath the
miss them.
desk,
You miss
right?
them.
And it also, Carol said it too, is like, then the whole class, they're thinking about that. That little seed has been planted,
Yeah, exactly.
right? And I mean, it is okay if someone says no
Hmm.
to the offer. We talk a lot about this, is like, you pitch it with no attachment to the outcome. Because again, if you go back to, if you really believe in this product and the service you're providing, you should be able to pitch it and have no qualms about pitching it. Carol, I see you doing this.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of going backwards a little bit is we played out the scenario where like the person's running out the door and you're like, but wait, I haven't, and it gets really, really awkward. It can get really weird really quickly. But if you have the buy-in or like we basically I've made an appointment. I've told you about it before. Maybe you said I need to think about it. And I said, okay, take class and I'm going to find you after. We'll see how you feel about it then. It's way less awkward to try to have that conversation. And you've made a point to say, meet me after so I can find out how your class went. I want to, it's all those things, but it's really funny to play it out in front of a team and say, oh yeah, that really could go left really
Sideways.
quickly. Really quickly.
Well, and the other thing too, to your point, you mentioned it, Bridget, is it's one thing if you have a class and it gets out and there's no class coming in, right? Because then, but particularly in the evenings, right? You probably will have back-to-back classes, so then you've got, let's say your capacity is 30, you potentially have 25 people coming out of class, 25 people going in class. So to that, you have a lot more activity at the studio or the business. And then if you do it before class. So that's one, if you're trying to check, so it helps with that flow. That's why we call it the first visit flow. And we do
Yeah.
that. We do that for a reason. In fact, I just posted in our coaches chat, or actually in our community chat, a client got a Google review, a 5-star Google review from a new client, and it was specifically, she said, the process was seamless from start to finish. The receptionist was so welcoming, the teacher, blah blah, and she just said, I just was made feel part of the community. And it sounds like, because I know this studio, they're one of my clients, I know they pitch the membership, that they do a direct to membership before, but she said, yeah, I came out of class and I went right back and signed up for that membership.
That is just the hill I will die on, is that it is such, I'm not saying it's like so easy, like, the easiest thing in the world to train a team to have a good first visit flow, but honestly, it is. Like, it is literally easy, and it's such low-hanging fruit that 90% of the studios I go to are missing. It blows my mind. 90% of the time I walk into a new studio, be it Pilates, yoga, whatever the fuck, and
There's
people
nothing.
act like I'm weird for asking them, where do I put my stuff? They act like I'm actually annoying to them, that I am a burden, and that's if I can find anyone to talk to in the first place. Most of the time I'm just wandering around like, should I put them here? Is this where I go? Where is the bathroom? Like, nobody knows. And then you're already walking into something new, say, for, you know, most of the time people are walking into something new. They're already feeling on edge, a little like, oh, I'm gonna look stupid or whatever. And then they feel stupid when they walk in, don't know where to put their stuff. And then they go into a class, feel stupid because they don't know how to do the stuff. And then do you think that that's going to be the best time to pitch them to come back a million more times over the next few weeks? No, they're going to be like, get me out of here. I am so embarrassed
One of
to
the
be
worst
here.
experiences I had in terms of that was I was visiting, I was on a trip with a friend, went to a yoga studio. I walk in and there's just an iPad,
I feel like as a
second
screen.
screen. And I like, okay, so all right, I know enough that, I was still, this is when I still own my own studio, but I knew enough. I'm like, oh, okay. So I check the button and I hear some noise and I walk and I'm like, oh, okay. And there were some other people milling around. Oh, okay. Oh, notice how I set up. The teachers comes in right as class starts class. Da da da. Okay, interesting. And never says boo to me, obviously brand new. Come back out after class and she said something. And then, of course, because I'm so shy, it turns out she was the owner. It was like, I was like, wow.
Well, a story came up this over the week where the particular studio that we're at has two rooms. And we were talking about, on the first visit flow, the tour should be like, we have a room, two rooms here and here. Your class is going to be in this room. Because it came out completely different set of people, but it was a story about a girl who was she had a great practice and was now going to college and was looking for a studio to go to. And they royally screwed up her first visit flow so badly that she was like, the crux of it was she ended up, nobody told her where anything was. She ended up walking into one of the rooms where a class was already going on, and the teacher yelled at her, like,
Get out.
whatever are you doing? Get out of the class. And she was like, just turned around and walked out. Like, you, how does that even happen? I don't know how. It's almost that curse of knowledge that we tend to
Yeah.
have. And that can not only turn off new people in a way of like, I don't even know how to maneuver myself in this space. Like, I don't feel comfortable here, but also it ends up like feeling quite clicky, I think, because you have
Uh,
probably the long time people that, oh yeah, everything, those are the people that the team tends to focus on.
because of the people they know,
Yeah.
the people that come all the time. And I challenged this thought a lot. I said, the last training we did, I said, can you, all of you, think of 5 members off the top of your head? And everybody went boom, boom, long, boom, boom, boom. Everybody had a list. Everybody knew Bob. Everybody knew Betty. I said, okay, now give me 5 people that just became members in the last 2 months. Crickets, couple, but that's the thing is that that's part of the when you said curse of knowledge is we forget what it's like to be that beginner, what it's like to be that new person. And it seems so obvious to us that a simple thing like where to put your shoes or what room you're in becomes not even in our consciousness. Right? I'm working with a newer client and I had them send me a video. I said, walk me through your space. It's a beautiful space, but it's oddly situated in that you walk into a building, you go there, it's like an officey type building or commercial building, I should say. Upstairs, there's some offices, there's a floor, and then you immediately walk down. They're basically in the basement level. So you walk down these stairs, and there's a window with their logo, and then there's a door, but that's the back side of the studio. And that you have to come in, turn a corner, go down a hall, go down another hall, go through a door, and then you're in the reception area. And I said, well, what about that door? I said, because if I'm brand new and I walk down these stairs, I see a window, I see a door, I'm going to go to that door. They're like, oh. I said, and I said, no, that door's always locked. I said, so wouldn't it make sense to have a sign that says check in this way or new clients here or reception this way? I'm like, oh, I mean,
Those sorts of
simple.
studios like freak me out so bad whenever I have to like go through. I am so bad with directions. And like, if you spin me around and put me inside of a building, and then 1 second later, I walk out of that building, I will have no idea which direction I came from. I don't know what is going on. I'm always walking into rooms I shouldn't be in. And the studios, so many studios, which is great and cool, are like through a hall and then, upstairs and, and there's other businesses around. Like, never is there good enough signage. Like, I'm always just like, I have to wait. I went to one recently. I just had to wait in the hallway until someone else with a yoga mat came through. And so I could just like follow her like up. It's just so, yeah, you gotta think about the
Well,
new
that's,
person.
yeah, that's why I say on when you have your landing page for your goal offer under FAQs, you should have a section on, particularly if you're in, like when I lived in New England, there's a lot of studios in old industrial buildings,
Yeah.
right? That this you got to go up the third floor, go, and it's a labyrinth in some of these buildings. So give the details.
Yeah.
Give, this is where we're located. This is we're on this floor. You're going to notice, give landmarks, have signage. If you're in a metro area, we're just one block north of the metro stop, Main Street metro stop or bus stop, or we have bike racks out in front. All of those things so that all the information is there when I register, sign up. I can
Yeah.
see everything and know, okay, here's where all those little details are. Yeah, I'm at this building, but it turns out that at this building, you have to go to the back of the building, behind the parking lot, down the stairs, through the basement, to the back,
Yeah.
it
And
drives
if,
me crazy.
I know this isn't, so possible for every studio, especially if you're doing super high volume, but my front desk, their first job when they come in, which is about 2 hours before class starts usually, sometimes even just an hour is enough. Um, they look at who the new people are and they send them a manual text message so that even if they're unsubscribed, they still get this text message. And it says like all the things that you might be worried about. Like you go in and our studio is pretty straightforward. It's just a big corner building, but you don't go in the main door, like the front door. You go in the side door. So we say that. We say where to park. We tell them don't worry about anything. If you forget anything, we'll tell you when you get here. And that can be a really nice touch, especially if you have um anything confusing about, which almost everybody has something, that throws people off a bit.
Yeah, I remember one time going to a hot studio and they neglected to give specifics about which, direction to take when you're coming. And I ended up going the wrong direction, which what isn't horrible when I realized it, but except it's one of those really busy major boulevards type
Mm.
that has the barrier that so I had to go 3 miles in the wrong direction
Oh no.
before I could turn around.
Yeah.
And I'm frantically calling the studio because I'm running late. And they said, oh, don't worry, this happens all the time.
Yeah, I
Okay,
bet.
if it happens all the time, then why don't you, if you know
Do
that this
something about
happens, why
it.
don't you say when you exit off the highway, make sure you're going 9 west or nine,
Yeah,
whatever it is, depending on the direction. So I'm just like, it just drives you crazy.
totally.
Crazy. Oh,
Mm.
all those little things. So what, anything else? Was there any other big aha moments? Were there any meltdowns? Give us the gossip.
Yeah, give us the tea here.
Give us the deets. Anybody melt down?
I'll never tell. No, there's always there it's interesting the sometimes resistance that you get every now and then. This was not particularly, you know, um, a thing that happened this time.
You mean you didn't get stop talking, shut up, stop talking, you're annoying me?
No, we did not, Terry.
Okay.
I'm sorry that happened to you.
I'm still suffering trauma from this.
I know. Well, another thing, we made major changes to the layout.
No, I was wondering about that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Major. And it's really incredible how much of a difference it makes. And it does take, in this instance, we had to really run the first visit flow a few times because of the way we made an area for a beginner to sit down and fill out their registration and waiver, which was somewhat behind the desk. So it was an interesting exercise to go through and see, does this actually work? And I think that's really important to do that and run it and see how it feels and what the timing is. And, we made it work. And now the flow is such that everyone does have to stop by the front desk. They're not doing the "you got me right" kind of wave by situation. So that's a really fun part of it. And I was like super pumped because one afternoon changed the whole vibe.
Yeah.
you
Well,
know?
we did that when we did that when we last worked together, Carol, at the other studio we were at, is we did the
Mhm.
same thing. And it was amazing just how significant the change was just by moving. We weren't able, in that case, we weren't able to move the desk because it was built in, although the owner is considering potentially in the coming next foreseeable future redoing her whole lobby. But just by putting in, and I remember we got there, people would come in. It has a big lobby. It's a bigger studio. I think their max capacity is 55, so they've got a big studio. We walked down. Remember, first time when we came in, it's like shoes. Remember, Kara, shoes were everywhere, right? People were leaving their, kicking theirs all over the place, tripping over shoes. So one of the things is we created an area that was absolutely no brain. Okay, by the time last day we were there, we looked around the last night. All the shoes were where they were supposed to be. All the stuff was where it was supposed to be because we defined that area. It was just very interesting.
Yeah, small tweaks. Well, and then I guess some of them are big tweaks, but
Yeah,
it really does, it can help or hinder, the flow. So that's another reason why having a fresh set of eyes and the team to help you through that can
yeah.
make a big difference. So
Yeah. And interesting with the 2 rooms, this client I was mentioning, they actually have 3 rooms. They have carved out a space where they have 5 reformers. So they added reformer. So it's not a huge space, but they have 5. But then they have 2 rooms. They have a hot room and a heated and a non-heated room. And I'm looking at their schedule, and because the hot room holds 30, the smaller room, I think 24, whatever. And the classes start at the same time, the exact same time. And I'm like, well, how is that in the East? Well, sometimes it gets a little bit crazy. And I'm like, well, how is that for the client experience? And they're like, oh. So, all right, Carol's got to hop off. So good to see you, Carol.
see you
Travel
too.
safe. See
Thank
you next
you.
time.
Carol.
Bye.
See y'all next week.
Anyway, so it was just very interesting that, again, they built their schedule out. And I know Carol, Bridget, you have a couple of clients that are just about to open. They built their schedule wanting to maximize the number of classes they can have, like they call the golden hour, which is true. Like the after work hours are the golden time. And I said, however, you need to balance that with how does that impact the client experience? And, because I said to them, I said, well, not only how crowded is the lobby, what about your parking situation? Are people struggling to find places to park? Because if you
Totally.
got, like you got classes in session, you got it's like, so all of these little details, I think particularly in the beginning, people don't think about because they don't know, because they haven't opened their business. Like I was thinking as we were talking about, she was talking about the flow, Bridget, is when you build out a studio, Imagine it. Mark out
Yeah.
a space where the desk should be and play it and see how that's going to work. Because all too often, I think it's, I don't think it's high on people's radar as to thinking about what the flow is going to be in the class, particularly if you have a bigger, but even if you have a smaller studio with a smaller space.
Yeah, big time. Also, get some like that is something I'm really bad at like visualizing like how something like my so anytime I move into a new house, my mom and stepdad come because they are like masters. Their houses are all like impeccably designed and decorated and they know it. They can just look at a room and I swear to God, every time me and Greg, or actually even before I was married, just me, I would move in, I would just like put my stuff in like places that I thought was good. And then they come in and they're like, that has to be 1 foot to the left. This has to be pulled out from the wall. This has to be fully flipped. And it's amazing. So if you are like me, get someone, just get a friend who's got a good eye for this stuff. Like if you're opening a studio, get someone in there who is good at this stuff because there's tons of people who are good at this. Know your own, know your
Know
own
your own limitation. Well,
limitation.
the other, this is a, because when I moved from Ohio, I was from Massachusetts to Ohio, the furniture I bought for the loft that I had in Massachusetts was a 1,500 square foot loft, 11-foot ceilings, big open space. So I bought bigger furniture. I
Yeah.
bought an 8-foot couch.
Hmm.
And now I have a little 1940s Cape Cod bungalow that is not nearly as big. And I was freaking out over whether my furniture was going to fit. And so my sister suggested this and was brilliant. You could do this. And you should do this at your studio is how big we got newspaper. And
Yeah,
because
so smart.
I bought my furniture at IKEA. So I went online and I found out what the dimensions are because everything
Yeah.
was in storage. And I just made the newspaper
Mhm. So smart. Yeah.
the length and the depth,
Yeah.
um, and then just put it on the floor.
Yeah.
Like, oh
So
my
smart.
gosh, this is going to fit. So that's
Yeah.
the other thing you could do is make how big your front desk is going to be, put it someplace,
Yeah.
move it around. Where does this
Yeah.
go? Where does this go?
And
Um,
don't do it built-in if you can.
yeah. And
Built-in
like you
built-in.
said, maybe a friend, but maybe this is where you would hire
Totally. You can
an
do, I think, yeah,
interior decorator and I'm
for
sure
sure.
they're out there that specializes in businesses or fitness
Yeah.
facilities or that has the expertise
Yeah.
to be able to come in and help you map that stuff out.
If you're listening to this at any point from the future or whenever, I think I have a name of someone who does this. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but specifically they do it for wellness businesses. So if you need that, send me a message and I will find it for you. Nothing is coming to mind right now, but I do think I have a contact. I think I can remember where I got it at some point, but
Rocky
anyway,
Mountain, I just Googled it.
yeah,
Wellness focused interior designs, like wellness interior designs. 26
totally.
best wellness center design ideas. Yeah, there's tons of stuff out there.
Yeah, I'm
But
sure there's tons of info. Get a
yeah. Well,
board.
one thing I think this would be a really good segue into what you were talking about, Bridget, before Carol jumped on, is we talked about um, how that one little tweak that even though this was a studio that had done this training with us before and had it all mapped out, that this one little thing happened that impacted the whole organization. And then at that point, we kind of got away from it. You saying having your team, like redo it and revisit it, which
Hmm.
kind of goes back to what you were talking about with your manager.
Yeah, yeah. So again, I run my studio remotely and it's now been 16 months or so that I've been fully remote. And so my manager, even though she is still part-time, but I also have a lead teacher who does a lot of hours. My manager, obviously, her job has shifted since I've left town. She was my manager before I left, and um, her role has shifted since I've left, and as to be expected. And I was noticing over the past, on and off since I've left, just like a little bit. I love her. She is amazing. She truly cares about the studio. She's good at so many parts of her job. And I've been noticing like a little bit of background dissatisfaction on my part with a couple areas, a couple ways that she works, like just a little bit here and there. And it reached the point where I genuinely started thinking like, is there someone better for this role? And which really like breaks my heart to even say because she is so wonderful and I think yeah. So anyway, but one of my values as a leader, big time, maybe my most important value as a leader is like when your staff is unsatisfactory to you in some way, the absolute number one most important thing first to do is to check that you have provided them with everything they need to do a good job. And
Hashtag Terry's chat.
does
If there's a problem in your business, look in the
look in
mirror.
the mirror. That's exactly right. And I also believe another value, relatedly, is that people are people and all people need slightly different things to thrive at work. Like my lead teacher, for instance, I don't need to write anything down for her. She always has her little notes that she's taking. She never misses a single thing. She intuitively, she's incredible. And I don't need as many like guardrails, like, lists and stuff for her. And she's a little bit, she's older, she's more my age. My manager's a lot younger. So anyway,
Excuse me,
so
older,
huh? I
older.
meant
He
older
who has not
than
even hit their fourth decade.
no, no, no. I meant older in that older than my manager, I meant.
Okay.
Older than
Okay.
older than she's much older than my manager. Um,
Don't forget who you're talking to,
no,
dear friend.
no, listen, I am a spring chicken. So anyway, so I was like, what is missing? And I realized that, her role has changed. We've added stuff, we've taken stuff away. We have, she's got her Asana tasks that she has to do weekly, monthly, daily, whatever. And she's got a doc somewhere where she keeps track of like what her things are to do. We have our employment agreement which says some stuff like this, but we didn't have an agreed upon place where all of my clear expectations for her at all times lived. And it had just gotten away from us. I think we at one point had one, and we just needed a refresh so badly. And it was just such a relief to both of us when I created this and I brought it to her. And just knowing now that that dissatisfaction that I have that was a little bit like in the background. It's like when that gnat keeps like flying around your head and you keep like swatting at it and then it, keeps coming back. It's not really a problem, but it's just sort of annoying. And it was totally lack of clarity. And that doesn't mean this is going to fix everything and whatever, but at least now we can both go back to this exact document and I can say, hey, I noticed this didn't happen. And to me, right there, it's so clear that this is one of the things I expect from you. So, what is going on there? And we had that here and there, but like, yeah, like I said, it had just gotten away from us a little bit. And so, I guess my first most important point is like, complain about your staff only after your side of the street is super fucking clean. And B, where is there not clarity that there absolutely needs to be more of? So those
I
are my
think, and the other thing is because particularly depend even any business organization, those employment docs, those expectations, those job descriptions evolve and change.
Yeah.
So once you have it set, that's why you have like performance reviews and you have check-ins with the team. And it's like, okay, they evolve, they grow. They're not necessarily a static thing. And particularly once you get, I mean, like even the front desk role, because imagine what your front
Totally.
desk does today versus what it did even a decade ago,
Crazy.
right?
Hmm.
And so I think that's where, and then as you said, if your hires aren't going so great, it's like, well, is it because in one case, oh my God, it was so funny. We reviewed their job description for front desk, and nowhere in there did it say sales.
Right. Totally.
And that was a real revelation. So change the thing, change the job description, right? And then the other is, and this was equally, it was interesting, is I had a client, we did that. We got starting to get candidates, all this stuff. And she texted me, or not messaged me, excuse me, that she's super excited, found this candidate, was so great, blah, 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 had the initial interview, all of this stuff. And she said, would you mind looking at her resume and tell me what you think?
Hmm.
So I read it. It was very impressive resume, but I read it and this was for front desk. And I
Hmm.
told my client, I said, yeah, she seems like an impressive person. I said, did you happen to notice that nowhere on this resume does it list any sales or customer service experience?
Hmm.
I said, the first thing she lists is project management. I said, now, if you were hiring for a project man, like an event person, like someone to do
Hmm.
your
Yeah.
YTTs or your retreats or your workshops, I said, this person would be perfect.
Yeah.
But nowhere on this resume does it say not just nothing, not, oh, I worked at the Gap when I was in high school.
Right.
Nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the other thing is, make sure you're hiring the right person for the right job. And I know this firsthand because I had a teacher and taught exactly what you said, Bridget, is I hired a manager, one of my younger teachers, and she was a great teacher. She was a lovely person, but was failing miserably.
Hmm.
And I realized, and this was like a real like humble moment, hashtag Terry's dad. We sat down to talk about it and I had to let her go from that job, but she was actually relieved
Mm,
because
totally.
it was round peg, square hole.
Yeah, totally.
And also I didn't have it clearly defined.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because she said, most of the time, Terry, I don't know exactly what you want me to do.
totally.
Right. So these are all things that go into that whole
Yeah.
thing.
And sometimes if when you hire people and you work with people long enough, you realize for someone else, they would have been totally clear about what you wanted at all
Yeah.
times, you know?
Personalities. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's just, and that's the other thing, like, you don't need to take it personally, but we do have to realize that we're working with human beings. And unless you want to work with all robots, you are going to have to figure out that, like, we have one gal on our team right now. I love her so much. And we have worked so hard to keep her. And she's been doing so good. I'm seeing her little on her post shift reports. She's getting conversions all the time and she's like she shows up, she takes constructive criticism so well. She is so enthusiastic. I get comments from my community members all the time like she's such a delight. And there were months where I was like, we need to get rid of her. We need to get rid of her. It's not clicking. But we hadn't found the way to communicate. And also she just needed more time. She just
Yeah.
took longer time to learn this stuff than other people, but she was so willing to. And that's the thing, like you're just going to get people who need slightly different communication, slightly different ways of learning, slightly more time sometimes.
Well,
And
that's Bridget,
yeah,
what you just demonstrated, that is a perfect example we've talked a lot about lately, especially post summit, is people only fail to the level of your system.
totally. Exactly.
right? So it's like, is it a people failure or is it a system failure? And again, that's that looking in the mirror, because if it's a system failure, that's on you as the owner
Yeah.
or you and the management team. It's like, okay, we got to fix the system. And
Yeah.
we talked about this on a roundup a while back with a hire or a mishire. It's like, well, which system failed? Was it the hiring system and onboarding? It was the hiring system that failed because she passed their hire. And I was like, yeah. Or
Hmm.
was it the onboarding? Was it the training that
Hmm.
failed? So
Yeah.
somewhere there's a systems problem. And it sounds like what you've done with that is you recognize, and the thing is that you worked with her, you had a plan, and she was showing progress,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. Totally.
Right. So you can see that you worked with your system, you worked with your plan, you could see the progress being made, and now she's a very valued member of the team.
Yeah. The progress
Whereas
was just
before,
slower. Mhm.
if progress hadn't been made,
Yeah.
then that's a different conversation.
Yeah. Totally.
But it showed that your system, well done. How
Thank you.
good is that? Yeah,
Thank you,
your
Coach.
system was there to
Yeah.
support it.
Totally. Yeah, totally. She's such a delight. I gave her a little shout out on Slack the other day. That's why she's on
Yeah,
my mind. And she does you know, we've got to have conversations with her once in a while. It's hard, like some stuff doesn't come naturally to her, but she takes it on board, and so I was like, oh, I got to give her a little love. She had
yeah,
a yeah,
got it.
yeah, so
Well, that kind
do you want to wrap it up, or do you want to talk about your
what do you think?
crazy little thing that
What do you
happened?
think? Because this is actually I could segue it from what you were just talking about.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Okay, so talking about systems, and this would apply this system would be specifically when you buy an existing business. What is the system for the previous owner?
Yeah,
And
totally.
and when I say system, what is in the purchase agreement? What is the expectation, if any, so that it's very clear when, because I just recently had this with a client the other day. She was like, is this normal? And I went, no. Where the previous owner was absolutely trying to insert herself back into the business.
Wild.
And coming from a place of, because I know the previous owner as well, coming
Mhm.
from a place of, I'm sure, oh, I want you to be successful, this kind of thing. But first off, we're over a year into the new owner owning the business. And the new owner was like a little bit bowled over, I guess is the way to do it, because the way the previous owner presented it and everything. And then it just ended up, I'm not going to say blowing up in her face. It was okay,
Yeah.
but it caused a lot of problems with her staff, not with
Mm,
the community, but specifically with a workshop she led and this and that. And then she had her teachers call and said, wait a second, that's not what we're doing and this and that. So I would just say that if you are, and if you are buying an existing business, and even if the owner is not necessarily even still in the area, make sure you have thought about what's going to happen post sale.
yeah, so true. With like you said, Terry, everything in writing and agreements. And also, just like you've got to know what your boundaries are
Yeah,
going into it too, that maybe can't be, that it's not shared between, it's not something written down and shared between you two, but just in your own mind, because it's tough, like any job this comes up, whether you're a manager taking over a new team, or or any business buying, anyone buying any business, like it's gonna be a little rough at times. It's weird to come in as the leader of something, that it already existed
yeah,
before. And I think of a couple studio owners that I know who let's just say I wouldn't want to buy a business from them. And uh yeah, I think that is just so funny. And you say, like, I'm sure they were coming from a place of wanting her to succeed. That's probably there for sure. And you know this person, so you
Yeah,
probably know that. But I think in other situations,
ego.
ego, big time ego, and like inability to like attachment, inability to let go. Like, I mean, I would have to set such strong boundaries, or will when I do eventually sell my studio. I'm gonna have to set really strong boundaries, for myself of just like, it's over, Bridget.
Once it's
Once
done, it's done.
once it's done, it's done. You gotta leave it be. And I think I'd be fine at that, but especially easy if you probably won't live in the same,
Well, live
same
halfway
place.
around the world.
Yeah.
But for me, it was easy because I sold the business and 3 weeks later I
And you
moved
moved.
and it was COVID.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Yeah, right.
it was pretty easy to do, but it is something to think about if you're looking to
It
buy a
is.
existing
Mhm.
business is really, and again, from both sides, if you're
Yeah.
looking to buy a business, don't be afraid to put your own stamp on it. Maybe don't go in as we talked about a while
Yeah.
back and burn it down, but
Yeah.
you're going to come in with your own ideas, your own perspective, your own what you want to make of the business, which is why you're buying a business, right?
Yeah.
So don't be afraid of that. And then if you are on the other side selling the business, and this I was like making lists and this and that and all the da, 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 and my coach, because I had basic all the basic SOPs, but I was kind of getting the weeds, and my coach said to me, Terry, don't waste your time
Yeah.
because this new owner is going to come in and let them if they have because the it was like because I was moving, the agreement was that I would be available, if for phone calls and emails. And I have to say, she was really good. It really the only time we had any contact was there was some tech issues with
Mm,
switching, transferring I use MindBody and I had the branded app, and this wasn't a MindBody issue, it was an Apple issue,
mm,
was transferring the ownership of the app in the Apple store. And then, interestingly enough, they reached out to me last year. Now this is 5 years in,
mm.
about Facebook. They finally
Oh,
got someone in there that really knew how to do ads and stuff. And we never did the official like changeover. So
mhm.
I was still
So
listed as
funny.
the owner of the account.
Uh, yeah, I
And
bet there's little stuff that happens like that all the
yeah,
time.
but so that was fine. But
Yeah.
my point being is if you are still living in the area, I'd step back completely, maybe like give yourself like a 3 6 month break
Totally.
with you don't even go into the
Oh
business.
my God, no.
Or I wish Carol was still on the call because she mentioned this because
Yeah.
she and her business partner sold the business to someone, and they both still work. They both still teach
Yeah.
at the studio they owned. And Carol said to the boundary, she was like, I was like in the beginning, I was just real clear with people. People come and she said, that's, I hear what you're saying, and you need to talk to the new owner. That's not my problem anymore. You need to talk. She would just say, and the new owner would, this was a good one too. The new owner would come with her and say, she would say, what would you do? So that's the other thing. If you are still going to work in the business, just make sure you said, as you have your clear boundaries
Totally.
so that
And
you're not
yeah.
wondering how was it that the old owner came out, I paid for a plane ticket, I had her do a workshop that caused dissension, and then she sends me a follow-up message as to how these are the things that need to be fixed, and that's how she can put together a program, and da 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 da.
So crazy.
So
And
crazy.
also, like, if you stick around, your feelings are going to get hurt. They're going to take your ugly painting off the wall and it's going to hurt your feelings. You
Oh,
don't need to hurt your feelings like that.
I had to just it was like a couple of days after the sale closed, I had to drop something off at the studio,
Mhm.
right? And the new owner had just changed some things around in the lobby. I was like, what
So triggered.
it was so
Yeah.
trigger. I was like, okay, no, it's not your business anymore. It's not your business anymore. It's not your business anymore. But I also knew it was going to be very, very different because I was a Bikram studio and we
Mm,
did, by the time I sold, it was Bikram, 90-minute OG Bikram. We had rebranded to the Hot Yoga Factory, and just the name itself, the Hot Yoga Factory, right?
yeah.
It was
Right.
like, and we did hot Pilates and blah, blah, blah. It was, definitely a physical yoga hatha practice.
Yeah.
And that whole mentality, that whole mindset and everything. And so I said to the owner, I said, did all my goodbyes, sent the email out, did a video post that, turning business over, excited for the future, all that stuff. And I said to her, I said, hey, would you, if you want to, you can send me an email message and I will be happy, because she didn't get access to anything until the sale was done. Right? She did not get into nothing until the sale was actually transferred. So I said, why don't you send me, if you would like, if you want to send me an email, a message, send me a doc or whatever, I would be happy to set that up in our marketing automation, which was BrandBot, and have it go out to the community. We closed, on the 21st of July. I'll have it go out the 22nd of July in the morning. Oh, she goes, oh, Terri, that would be great. Thank you so much. So all my emails were like this, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cheers to you guys, Terri and team. Her was like, sorry, Bridget, all that airy fairy vinyasa, roots growing, wings
I don't talk
spreading.
like that.
I
I'm
know
vinyasa,
you don't. I
but I
knew you
don't
should
talk
have.
like
But
that.
it was very, very, is polar opposite
Yeah,
from my messaging
yeah, that's rough.
as a Bikram studio and my
Hmm.
personality
Yeah.
to very different. And as I'm reading this message, I'm like, oh, it's probably a good thing I'm leaving town. But, and to her credit, she is about to open her third location.
Oh,
So,
hell yeah.
so
Amazing.
it's amazing. Now she in her second location added Legree. So now she's doing Legree,
Oh,
which is
cool.
awesome.
Mhm. Yeah.
But I like to think that, hey, I gave, she bought something that was primed for
Oh, yeah.
success.
Gave her a really
Well,
strong foundation.
yeah, it's like gave her a strong foundation. And yes, she took the business in a completely different direction than I ever would have. And well, more power to her for doing
Yeah,
that.
worked really well. It's
And
all
her,
about, authenticity, which is like our word of the month right now.
yeah, it's about,
And
that's what she
yeah,
did her. I did me, she did
exactly.
her.
And you were both successful because you were doing something authentic to you.
Yeah,
Yeah, big
yeah.
time.
I mean, yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. So it all kind of flows together. You know what the
It
common
does.
thread through what the common thread through all of our roundups is?
Give it to us.
People will people.
People, exactly,
It's people.
100%. It's
100%.
people.
It's
It is our
people.
business, is
It is our
people.
people. We're a
Yeah.
service-based business. It's all about people.
It truly is. It's so true. It's so true. Every question comes back to that. And I'm thinking of, I don't know why, for some reason, the last 24 hours, all my clients have like needed stuff or like, said stuff to me. And all of it, if I really think about it, it all comes back. The questions are all about people, which is great
People.
because people are my favorite thing to talk
Yeah.
about and
And
to
that's where having systems and
analyze.
processes and things like that to help and I love what you said, one of your core values as a leader is making sure that your team can be having the systems in place to make your team successful.
Yeah, what have
Right?
I done? Is my side of the street clean?
I love that. Is my side of the street is like he who was out thin cast the first stone kind of thing.
Totally, exactly.
Right? You
Yeah,
can't expect your team to clean up a system that you haven't defined. It's
exactly.
not fair. Now,
No.
you can ask them to help you build it,
Hmm. Yeah.
and that's a great thing to do. It's like, hey, I'm struggling with this. Reach out, get some help with that, get a coach for that. But also, like if you have a manager and you're about to launch something else, it's like, okay, let's sit down and figure this out together. If you want to do whatever it is, get your team involved.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know what I did? When I created that doc, I sent it to her and I was like, go through this with a red pen, circle the stuff that doesn't make sense, circle the stuff, cross out the stuff that you think, whatever. Tell me if you need more time, if this is part of the job, if you're going to need more hours for that. Like, tell
Yeah,
me anything that,
will help you be
you are, yeah,
successful.
exactly. That will help you be successful.
And
Exactly.
that's actually a great time if you're like with your onboarding and stuff. If you've never done an onboarding, the best time to build one is when you're hiring somebody new and you tell that person, look, I've never had a front desk person before. This is what I think the job is what but let's, things, questions come up. What's happening? What do you need to know so that I can flesh out that SOP? And then once you do have it, that's where new hires are great for that because, oh, this doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's like if nobody's ever driven a car. Oh, the first time I got into my sister's Prius with no key, I'm sitting there going, well, how the hell you start this
You
thing?
know, what do I do? Yeah.
What do I do?
Hmm. Yeah.
You know, and finally, I forgot what it was. She said, oh, you can just take my car, whatever. And this was years ago. And I had to go back. And I said, Lisa, I have no idea how to start your car.
Hmm.
Of course, I didn't see the
You're
button
like,
that
I
said
can't
power.
take your car
I can't take
because
your car.
I don't know how
I
to
can't
start
start
it.
it, right? So we got to remember new client mindset, new employee mindset,
Exactly.
right? It's like
Yeah.
document, document, document. All right, I think are you going to call it, Bridget?
Let's call it. I think that's a wrap on this week's weekly roundup. Tune in every Friday and make sure you subscribe to the show on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, or wherever you are listening from. Join us in the Artha community, and we will see you next week.
I
Bye.